Currently, what's the biggest secret you are keeping from your spouse? Story 1. For the last 12 years, I've kept a secret book and have our kids draw and write notes to my wife every Mother's Day before she wakes up. It should be filled up in about 4 years, and we'll give it to her that Mother's Day. 16 years of memories going back to when they were babies and could barely hold a crayon to make some scribbles. My wife is not sentimental and never cries. This day we will make her weep. Story 2. For years, she's always talked about wanting to go to the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Even as we started spending Thanksgiving each year in the Midwest with my extended family, she will wake up at 5 a.m. every year and watch all the preparations on TV and the entire parade. This year, she thinks we're going back to the family farm for the holidays. But in reality, I have flights and a hotel booked in Midtown Manhattan. I'm usually the one that handles travel details, and so I think I can get her onto the plane before she realizes the surprise. I'm busting at the seams trying to keep it a secret and not tell her. Answer. So, as a NYC native, I never really woke up to go to the parade. But now that my office is directly on 6th Avenue, with all the glass windows on the second floor facing the parade, the company allows us to bring guests, and I had to do it for the kids. Seeing Bluey and Snoopy within literal arm's reach is astounding. I highly recommend, if you're trying to have a good spot and avoid huge crowds, avoid Herald Square as much as possible. Go to the low to mid-50s on 6th Avenue. It won't be suffocatingly crowded, and there's still stuff to check out after the parade is done, and all the subways are within a short walk. Have lots of fun. Other tips: it's very rare for it to be clear skies and reasonable temp, so pack ponchos instead of umbrellas, just tacky to block others' views and don't want to sully the moment with an argument. Bring sweaters, snacks, and plan out bathroom spots before you get in place. A lot of places will either be closed or not have a restroom available. Take lots of pictures and enjoy the city. Story 3. She has a habit of taking phone calls from family members right when it's inconvenient for our routine because they'll last for hours. I come from a family that barely holds a phone call over 3 minutes. She took a call one night from her parents on the way home and stayed on the phone for so long it delayed our dinner plans. I was getting agitated and annoyed with how long she stayed on the call, but doing my best to compose myself because I had this strange thought: stop it. This could be the last conversation she ever has with them. No reason to think that other than my tendency to think. Catastrophically. He died of a massive heart attack 4 days later. I still haven't told her what ran through my head that night 7 years later. Answer. Whoa. Anecdotally, my wife has this habit of wanting to call her mom back when we've gotten into the car and I'm driving, so she'll call on the car connection. They tend to talk for a while, so usually their conversation takes the entire ride, wherever we're going. So basically, I get to chauffeur her while listening to their conversation. I'll chime in here and there, but it's mostly just them catching up. I like her mom and want them to have time to chat, so I live with it. But man, it makes for some boring car rides. Story 4. Last year, the resort we went to didn't have our room ready for our first night, so they put us in this spectacular upgraded room for one night only. We were a little mad at first because we booked the stay 6 months in advance, and my wife likes to unpack everything once she gets in the room. Plus, we have kids, so it's a lot. But we get to the room and we're absolutely amazed how gorgeous it was. High floor, amazing views of the water, huge, etc. We loved it, and the next morning went to our reserved room, which was still great, but it's like you buy a Mustang and they give you a Ferrari for 24 hours. Still love your Mustang, but anyway, we're going back this year, and she doesn't know I booked that room for the whole stay. I've kept the secret for almost 6 months and nearly 6 more to go. Story 5. My wife adored and idolized her late grandfather. I found out through an associate of his after he died that he was not entirely free of organized criminal influences. He was a great grandpa to her and was always good to me. I keep that secret from her. She doesn't need to know. Story 6. We're not married yet. Getting married in 13 days. I bought her a necklace to wear on the wedding day, and the pendant on it is made with her brother's ashes, who passed when she was 10. That way, she can have her brother there with her on the wedding day. Story 7. My wife has multiple handicaps and often feels inferior to me because it's just way easier for me to do things like cooking. So, I lie that I'm really bad at certain things, and that I'd like her to do them instead because she's better at it, like cleaning mushrooms or wiping the windows. Story 8. That I'm depressed. I'm really, really depressed. He is usually the depressed one. I often give him support. I'm afraid of letting him know that I get sad and need an arm to cry on too. I don't want to seem weak when he needs a strong person that loves him regardless. Story 9. It's pretty messed up, but here as goes. That I know she looks at my comments on Reddit every once in a while, and this post will catch her eye if I commented on it. Hi babe. Edit. She has seen this, and now I have to explain. Edit 2. I might die tonight. Edit 3. I survived. She is happy so many people can share me. Edit 4. I now have to worry if she's home aloneing the house when I come back from work. Story 10. He doesn't know that I accidentally overheard part of his telehealth therapist appointment when I was changing one day. The office is next to our bedroom, and he was talking unusually loud. Usually I can't hear him beyond muffled words I can't understand. Nothing bad was said about me, but I did not know the depths of his self-hatred until that moment. I have been going way out of my way to tell him every tiny little good thing he does now. I was pretty complimentary before, so hopefully he doesn't have suspicions. But now I have a laser focus on anything that I heard him say he disliked about himself or was insecure about. My husband is fudge amazing, and he deserves to feel that way about himself too. Story 11. I'm not sure if this answer really fits, but I always found this jarring with my ex. My ex was someone who was really good at dissociating and compartmentalizing, mostly because of his career in the military and law enforcement. Coping mechanism, I suppose. He wasn't keeping these things from me. But every now and then, he'd come out with this traumatizing story and tell it with no emotion, or maybe even laugh like it was a quirky memory. Meanwhile, I'm just sitting there slack-jawed. Things like seeing a motorcyclist get decapitated, getting drugged, kidnapped, and robbed in Turkey also. He couldn't remember his childhood and thought there was nothing wrong with that. Answer. I worked with this old guy at the company I work in. It was the second time I met the guy, and he just casually started telling about the time his friend got beheaded while driving his snowmobile, and how one work site he seen a huge concrete panel fall on a guy completely flattening him, blood splattered everywhere, and how he was actually at the Vegas concert where the guy started shooting people from the hotel window. He said he just covered his wife's eyes and grabbed her to follow him out. There was so many people that died just from being trampled. He got really detailed, and I'm just standing there like, whoa, that's messed up, man. Like, how the hell do you respond to that? I just met you. Story 12. Farts. We don't discuss them. Don't do it in front of each other. And if it accidentally happens, no, it didn't. But oh my God, he let out the most cartoonishly long fart in his sleep, and it ended on a whistle? Insane. I had to leave the room to laugh, and can never tell him BC he will die of embarrassment. Answer. My friend and his wife hide farts from each other. My wife and I will go visit them every few months to hang out as they live 6 hours away. Every time she leaves the room, we all rip jerk to the point it became a game. Once they had their baby, we no longer had the guest room and would sleep in the living room. Well, me trying to be funny, farted as soon as she left to the bedroom. The problem was, she was just at the doorway, and my fart was a lot louder than anyone could have predicted. And she walked back out laughing and was like, "What the fudge?" So now she knows we fart every time she leaves the room. Lol. Story 13. There was one very faint line on the pregnancy test this morning. I'm waiting for him to come back after a long shift so I can tell him in person. Edit. Thank you everyone for the congratulations and tips. It's no longer a secret, but also very early days, so I'm trying my best not to get carried away. Thanks so much for letting me share this with you. I couldn't contain myself alone in the house today. Story 14. It's our 20th anniversary tomorrow. She watches our accounts like a hawk, so she knows all the money that goes in and out. I use my mom's credit card to book us a cruise. Just me and her, and she has no clue. It's going to be spectacular. Story 15. My wife passed away when we were 29, but she never knew that I was the sperm donor for one of my best friend's kids. We didn't fuck. I was the literal sperm donor. Spoot in a cup. My wife and my friend's husband, now ex-husband, thought it was an anonymous donor. There might be a medical document listing me as the donor, but he's not very bright. Their first 2 kids were biologically theirs. They wanted a third. He got testicular cancer, lost a nut, and ended up sterile. So B abandoned them when the kid was 2 or 3 years old and weaseled out of paying child support for any of their kids. He stayed unemployed and lives at his parents' house until the youngest turned 18. So it's not like I cheated him financially. Their third kid doesn't look like me, but she's the only one of the 3 that wears glasses, is almost 6 tall. Her sisters are 5'6" or so, and, probably just a coincidence, is good at math. Her mother and I pinky swore no one would find out, but everyone is using 23andMe and Ancestry for DNA testing. I never will, but my sister is on 23andMe. Pretty awkward if she ever finds out she suddenly has a niece. Story 16. That I know he lies about dumb shit that he doesn't need to lie about. Has weird intimacy interests, I think. And he talks to other women online under the guise of learning and education spirituality. But I saw an intimacy tape one of them sent him a few months ago. Not that I even needed to see that to know. But he really thinks he's so smart, and he's not. I'm literally always 10 steps ahead of him. He also pays for OF, which wouldn't be a big deal if he was already so FK'd up LMAO. He drives trucks, and he's tried to pay for an adult worker out on the road before and buy intimacy tapes from PPL on Twitter. He's completely freaked out he's watching me from across the room as I write this LOL. What he doesn't know is that when I get more financially stable, I'm leaving his jerk. Not my husband BTW, just longtime partner. Story 17. When we were dating, my wife had 0 money and 2 kids. I had 2 kids also, but had a better paying job. Her Suburban kept breaking down, and I'd pick it up for her and drop it off at the mechanic. She had 2 separate repairs that were pretty expensive. I lied and told her it was minor each time and paid for it myself, and said it was only the battery or something like that. She also had parents of some of her students that would give her gift cards and things for the holidays. I sent her a loaded Visa gift card on it from an anonymous parent to the school with $400 on it. She kept smiling, going on about how great the parents were to her and how she can pay off her daughter's braces and give them a great Xmas. Story 18. That every night I lay awake worrying about anything and everything from bills to our daughter's future to remembering my father before he passed to what color I want to paint the fence. My mind goes, and I always get to the same point, passing. What's going to happen when I die? Does it just go black and that's it? Are my family going to be okay when I go? Am I going to live a full life or die young? The stress of just typing this is horrendous. Story 19. My boyfriend loves Magic the Gathering, especially the artwork. He has about 30,000 cards. I've slowly asked questions here and there to figure out his all-time favorite artist over the last year, spoken with his friends about what kind of cards are his favorite. I've done so much research. It's his birthday soon, and I got him a card from his favorite artist with a one-of-one drawing, and they even wrote a little happy birthday card for him. The card has finally arrived and is being kept hidden at someone else's home. It's been a really hard year for us in many ways, but we've been powering through it. He also dislikes celebrating his birthday, but I like to make him feel special. I'm so excited to give it to him. Story 20. She had health issues. My father was dead, and she defaulted to assuming my role in life would be looking after her until she died, and she disliked him for taking that away from her. Story 21. Things have been pretty rough for me outside the relationship, and I started smoking again after quitting for more than half a year. I intend to quit again soon, but I don't have the heart to tell her I started again. Story 22. I really love Damascus steel knives, like a lot. For my birthday a few years back, they got me a set of Japanese Damascus steel knives. They are not, in fact, Damascus steel. They're somewhat cheap knives with a fake Damascus design. They were so excited when they got them. I don't think I can ever tell them they're fake. It would break their heart. I still use them. I will continue using them. Story 23. That pretty much every climax I've had, I've faked. He is so bad in bed and won't take constructive criticism or even really talk about it when I try. I learned long ago to just fake it, then take care of it myself later. He's lucky I love him dearly. Story 24. After 14 years and a lot of therapy, I finally felt secure enough to get rid of my safety net, so I sold it 3 months ago and used the money to pay off the mortgage on our home. He can officially retire at age 40. I'm telling him at date night this weekend. I hope he is happy. Story 25. That I am struggling to have any faith and trust in men after being married to him. The first 5 years were awful. He wasn't abusive. He was just absent. He works as a teacher with an absolutely grueling schedule, so understandably he's tapped out at the end of the day. He's also had a few relationships before me while I was a virgin when we married, and he carried the baggage of that into our relationship. He expected women to say one thing but do another, to be doing mind games and to try and strong-arm him at least on a subconscious level. I am not and have never been that woman. I give. And I give and I give, and because his boundaries were up, he took and took and took. I wanted to talk to him about anything. I love seeing how his brain works and learning all the little things that make him tick. I wanted to have intimacy more, but that newness wasn't there for him, so our eagerness was out of sync. I had 3 pregnancies, 2 which survived. All of the pregnancies were brutal, and the first one left me with 4 autoimmune diseases. I carried on working throughout them, trying to manage our home and repair it on our tiny budget. I'm an artist by trade, and he's an actual scientist. So, we're very different. He would notice if the tires were flat on the car, but not that I was so exhausted from breastfeeding our youngest and managing our autistic eldest that I was bumping into walls. He would ask, in such an offended tone, why I forget what we had talked about that morning, when only a few days ago he had been with me when the doctor had told us that my damaged thyroid would badly affect my memory. I wasn't doing it deliberately to spite him. It wasn't that was he had been talking about was unimportant. It was that my thyroid was trying to eliminate me. I still had an actively healing 3rd-degree tear from birth, and I was breastfeeding all night. I was doing my best, but I was being judged against some past relationship I had had no part of. I noticed that our eldest probably had autism when he was 3 years old. I've always suspected I had it, and both my sister and father have been diagnosed with it. I knew what it looked like, and I kept bringing up my concerns, but he didn't see it until a nursery worker mentioned to us they thought he might have autism. Then, suddenly, he was all aboard the "let's get him checked" train. About 2 years ago, I walked out the doctor when he got annoyed at me for throwing away the wrong jumper. He'd asked for me to keep an eye out for one of his jumpers that had a broken zipper and to throw it out for him. I was running on about 4 hours sleep that day. I found the one I thought he meant and threw it away. Later that evening, he asked for it, and I realized I'd thrown the wrong one away, so I apologized, got it out of the bin, and put it in the wash. He would not stop nagging, asking why I had thrown it out. I kept explaining I just made a mistake, but he was acting as though I must have done it on purpose, like I had some strange, nefarious reason for throwing out the fudge cardigan. Something in me snapped, and I realized that I was going to spend the rest of my life with this man nagging me, always waiting for me to behave like whatever meanie he dated. I walked out of the house and stayed at my parents' overnight. We did therapy. He had since apologized sincerely and actually shown that he is doing the work. This birthday, he noticed that I really liked a MP3 player he had, so he bought me one in a color he knew I loved, bought me headphones that are noise canceling, and downloaded all of the music that I had on. My father is a disgrace of a man, so my first impression of men something to be wary of. I picked this man very carefully. He was and is a very calm man, unlike my father. He doesn't scream, he doesn't shout, he doesn't smash things. He's a very intelligent man and a man who, when we were dating, was observant and kind, but the kind just kind of faded away over the first year we were married, and suddenly everything else was more important. I became an appeance that worked in e-background. He wasn't happy or even excited to see me at the end of the day, and every time I tried to make his life nicer, let him sleep in even though I had been up all night, for example, he would just take and take and take, unless it was intimacy, of course. No, for that, the sun, moon, and stars had to be perfectly aligned. I have 2 sons who are such sweethearts, but I see similar behavior, takers. Reciprocity just doesn't seem natural to them. Now that my husband is putting in the work, they're starting to mimic him. But they fact it's not an instinct, just EDK. It's jarring. Before I was married, my default opinion of men was that they were natural leaders. Now I think of them as natural takers, like a baby bird, so much potential, but undeveloped and with their mouth always open, demanding. They only become altruistic when the people around them demand it of them. And now that I've demanded it, it's tinted how I see him, and it's permanently made me jaded, which I dislike. Story 26. My wife thoroughly enjoys taking the first scoop of peanut butter from a virgin jar, so I've been making an effort to only buy the tiniest peanut butter jars that I can find, so she can enjoy this feeling more often. Story 27. He might see this, but that's okay. I can't tell him in person that he scares me now. For 10.5 years, I've never been scared being around this man, but am scared of him lately. He seems so angry even though he says he isn't. And I know it's all my fault. I'm not a good enough wife. I should be better. I should be nicer. All I ever want to do is cry and stay in bed, but I suck it up for our kids. I hope one day he realizes that I do still love him, even if I don't show it in the way he wants me to. I hope he realizes I'd never go anywhere and I don't want to be with anyone else. I'm just struggling, hormonally and emotionally. Story 28. My husband has long hair, and when we go to shower, often forgets to remove his hair tie and will launch flick it over the shower doors towards the sink without looking. One time when he'd had a particularly bad day, he launched it and managed to land it right around the faucet handle. I expressed great surprise, and that simple minor feat of luck really helped brighten things up for him. He keeps trying to repeat it and is adamant that he'll get it again. What I'll never tell him is that I caught the hair tie and put it on the faucet myself to give him a win for the day. It was a small thing. From about 5 years ago, that delighted him a little bit when he needed it, and I can't take that away from him now.